Hey guys, welcome back to True Crime with Shannon, where I cover missing persons, unsolved cases, crime news, and more. Well, I'm going to try to finish up reading the arrest affidavit for Letecia, and yes, I'm calling her Letecia Stauch. In this particular video, I realized the other video ran super long, so I don't know, I may break this up again into two parts. I've been feeling a little under the weather today. My stomach is bothering me, but I'm feeling better enough. I'm hoping I can get this recorded. Again, here is Sweet Gannon. Always want to start out with his beautiful face because that's what this is all about. Is justice for Gannon. So yesterday when I finished up, we were right about here. So we're getting to about the middle, I suppose, of page 18. So we are now at Metro Crime Laboratory Report, case number 20MCL00267. I'm going to try to zoom in on this a bit more. 123. I have received and viewed Metro Crime Laboratory Report Case 20MCL00267, completed by serologist Sherry Holmes, 662. Although I have discussed results related to this DNA testing and other portions of this affidavit, the intention of this section is to provide clarity and eliminate ambiguity of which samples were submitted to the laboratory and which samples were or were not attributable to Gannon Stauch's DNA. Additionally, there is an unknown contributor in some of the DNA profiles that were developed. As mentioned elsewhere in this affidavit, I do not have a biology background, but I am aware that a DNA profile is very accurate. 124. Investigators submitted swabs from Gannon Stauch's toothbrush bristles, toothbrush head, and from a tooth retainer that Mr. Stauch said belonged to Gannon. DNA buccal swabs were also taken from Gannon's biological father, mother, and from Letecia Stauch. From these samples, DNA profiles for these individuals were developed and used as a comparison for other testing. 125. In summary, Gannon's DNA profile was found from blood samples taken in the garage on the outside of size 8.5 Nike shoes and in Gannon's bedroom. Letecia's DNA was recovered from the interior of the size 8.5 Nike shoes. I submit to the court that the lab results tend to corroborate the theory that Gannon was indeed murdered in his bedroom, brought into the garage, and his remains loaded into the Volkswagen Tiguan, subsequently to be disposed of in an unknown location. 126. To be more specific, a serology study was conducted by the Metro Crime Laboratory, and the following samples tested positive for the presence of blood. These samples were also analyzed and compared to known DNA samples of Gannon Stauch, Letecia Stauch, and Albert Stauch. A. 4269S-01A01. Taken from a piece of carpet found inside a carpet roll in the utility room, found to be a mixture of 3 contributors, at least one of which is male. A DNA profile was not suitable for comparison due to the number of contributors and the complexity of the mixture. B. 4269S-140101. Taken from the garage of the Stauch residence directly under where the rear hatch of the Tiguan when reversed into the garage. This DNA profile from the blood is a mixture of 2 contributors, one of which is male. The major profile matches Gannon Stauch. C. 4269S-140201. Taken from the garage of the Stauch residence directly under where the rear hatch of the Tiguan when reversed into the garage. This DNA profile from the blood is a mixture of 2 contributors, one of which is male. The major profile matches Gannon Stauch. D. 4269S-140301, taken from the garage of the Stauch residence, directly under where the rear hatch of the Tiguan when reversed into the garage. This DNA profile from the blood matches Gannon Stauch. E. 6839S1 SW10101, taken from the carpet at the base of the garage stairs. A DNA profile could not be developed, but tested presumptively positive for the presence of blood. F6839 SW2-010101, taken from the blood-stained carpet fibers in Gannon's bedroom. A DNA profile was obtained from the blood and matches the DNA profile of Gannon Stauch. G6839 SW2-010201, taken from the corner of Gannon's bedroom on the carpet pad by his bed. A DNA profile from the bloodstain matches Gannon Stauch. H. 6839 SW2-0201, taken from the electrical outlet cover in Gannon's bedroom by his bed. A DNA profile from the bloodstain is a mixture of two individuals, at least one of which was male. The major profile matches the DNA profile of Gannon Stauch. I. 6839 SW2-0301, taken from the electrical socket in Gannon's bedroom by his bed. A DNA profile was obtained from the blood and matched the DNA profile of Gannon Stauch. J. 6839 SW2-040101, taken from the backside of the carpet in Gannon's bedroom near his bed. A DNA profile was obtained from the blood and matches the DNA profile of Gannon Stauch. K. 6839 SW2-040201, taken from the bloodstain on the top of the foam from the carpet in Gannon's bedroom. A DNA profile was obtained from the blood and matches the DNA profile of Gannon Stauch. L. 1153998, taken from the trunk area of the Volkswagen Tiguan, was found to be negative for the presumptive presence of blood. M. 4269 S-08, taken from a teal couch pillow in the basement of the Stauch residence, was found to be presumptive positive for the presence of blood, but no DNA profile was able to be developed. N. 4269 S-010201, taken from outside of the right Nike shoe. A DNA profile was obtained after swabbing a confirmed bloodstain on the outsole of the right size 8.5 Nike shoe and was found to match the DNA profile of Gannon Stauch. Furthermore, a DNA profile was obtained from a swab of the inside of the shoe, which matched the DNA profile for Letecia Stauch. Historical cell site location for related cellular telephones. 127. Investigators applied for and were granted search warrants by this court to obtain historical call detail records to include cell site locations of cellular devices known to be utilized by Letecia and Harley. Your officiant has reviewed information from this analysis and in summary learned the following information. 128. Historical cell site analyst helps to determine the location of a cellular telephone based on cell tower and antenna locations and orientation. Locations are determined by activity of the cellular telephone and represent an approximate area, not an exact location. Different cellular carriers report this information in different formats and fashions. 129. The historical cell site analysis identified unusual activity for Letecia, including potentially disconnecting her cell phone from the cellular network for several hours. I submit that by disconnecting the phone, Letecia intended to prevent law enforcement from being able to determine her location. Specifically, this occurred on January 28, 2020. During the evening, she disposed of Gannon's remains. The search of Letecia's cellular telephone. 130. Investigators applied for and were granted a search warrant for Letecia's cellular telephone. A physical download was conducted and investigators were able to recover data, inclusive of text messages, call records, the specific times her cell phone was unlocked, battery levels, and other information. In summary, investigators learned that Letecia lied to her employer, her husband, her friends, her daughter, and the children's babysitter. I will not include each and every text message or her lie. 131. Additionally, there are messages that would otherwise tend to corroborate her statements about Gannon's whereabouts on the afternoon of January 27, 2020. if in fact he did go play with his friends. As discussed in other portions of the affidavit, Letecia's story was false and misleading, and these messages were likely sent by her as part of a larger plan to support her initial lies about his disappearance. 132. For example, on January 28, 2020, at approximately 05:14 hours, Letecia had a conversation with Stephanie, the children's babysitter, saved in the phone as Stephanie Sitter. There is no indication that Gannon ever went to a doctor, and Letecia never brought that up with investigators. Some, but not all, of their conversation is below. So there's a piece of the texts here. They are hard to read, but I'm not going to go through them. But you guys are, of course, able to pull this up and take a look at it for yourself. 133. Letecia made statements to investigators via text message that could be considered exploratory in nature, related to the presence of blood in the basement of their residence, as seen in the below text message. I have talked with investigators that were inside the Stauch residence on January 27th and 28th and 29th. There were no odor of smoke, no evidence of smoke. In fact, one detective noted the basement smelled like coconut and was very pleasant. Furthermore, I know that burns oftentimes do not produce wounds that bleed profusely. Again, there's some text messages here regarding that. 134. The below message appears to contain instructions from Letecia to Harley to purchase carpet powder, baking soda, trash bags on or about January 27, 2020, 4:52 p.m. These messages are important because investigators believe the purpose of these items was to clean up blood from the murder of Gannon. This text message was also referenced above in paragraph 72 through 76. And this one is kind of easier to read. Shows she sent it to her, asking for the carpet powder, 2 things, baking soda, trash bags. 135. Investigators also recovered limited GPS and location data from Letecia's phone. There are crucial time periods, such as on the evening of January 28, 2020, that investigators were not able to recover location history because Letecia disconnected her phone from the cellular network or turned the phone off. 136. Letecia stored several written notes within her iPhone. The majority of these notes contain what appeared to be usernames, passwords, or insurance information. There were several notes that appeared to reference her unhappiness in the relationship and shed some light on potential household instability. Letecia's internet activity between January 25th through 29th, 2020. 137. I was able to review some, but possibly not all, of the stored internet search history and the websites visited, recovered from the forensic physical download in search of Letecia's iPhone. 138. Between the dates of January 25th through January 28th, 2020, Letecia visited websites associated with searching for a job in states other than Colorado, such as Los Angeles, California, Orlando, Florida, Pensacola Beach, Florida, and Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Letecia also viewed apartments and 2-bedroom rental properties in Florida. Additionally, she visited a moving cost calculator website. 139. Letecia's internet activity also captured the search for a rental car and visited the website Priceline.com on January 28, 2020 at or about 08:17 hours. I submit this timing is consistent with the acquisition of the Kia Rio mentioned in this affidavit. 140. Letecia appeared to use Google, a popular online search engine. I have included some of her queries to Google along with the date and approximate time of the search. Not all of her Google searches are included below. I submit that Letecia's search history is important because the history suggests she might have been struggling as a step-parent and additionally suggests she was not happily married to Mr. Stauch. See items 1, 10, 12, 13, 14. While her search history alone does not provide motive to murder Gannon, it does shed light on her inquisitive thoughts of her position with the family, memorialized in Google's search engine. 141. I also direct the court's attention to the way Letecia's search terms are sometimes entered. Letecia hits the quote key instead of the space key multiple times while searching the internet in approximately 44% of the searches listed below. This will be significant during the discussion of a search conducted on Gannon's phone, as was discussed above in paragraph 40 and will be further discussed below. There are other searches on Letecia's phone that use a quote. An additional search history over a longer time span does exist that is not included listed below. And here are some of her searches here. Find real military singles. Parenting should be 4 people, not 1. If you aren't involved in your kid's life, you are shitty. My husband's ex-wife does nothing for her kids. And of course, it goes on and on. 142. Investigators were also able to recover internet search history that was deleted from Letecia's phone. No time and date association was located with the data, and I can only ascertain that searches were conducted prior to the EPSO seizing Letecia's phone on January 29th, 2020. Some, but not all, of the search history is included below. Some of the other deleted search terms such included travel planning, shopping, job searches, and other seemingly innocent activity. I have not purposely left out any particular search that would be exculpatory in nature, and I am not intending to portray that all of Letecia's deleted searches were nefarious in nature. So it looks like she was searching for stuff like Find Me a New Husband book. I feel like I'm just a nanny, not a stepmom. Husband uses me to babysit his kids. Are there any free money to move away from a bad situation? My husband never posts about me, but does everything else. Let's see. My husband only cleans up for the army, not me. I'm just a glorified babysitter. Find a new husband, and so on. 143. During the first 24 to 48 hours surrounding the disappearance of a child, it is reasonable that an assumingly innocent parent or step-parent would be contributing to search efforts and fully participating in the effort to recover the child. 144. In the 24 to 48 hours surrounding Gannon's disappearance, Letecia rented a vehicle, turned her cell phone off for approximately 4 hours on the evening of January 28th, 2020, watched her Tiguan immediately prior to coming to the EPSO for an interview, evaded law enforcement's attempts to conduct a more in-depth interview, and did not participate in the search for Gannon. 145. On Tuesday, January 28th, 2020, between 0848 and 0854, Letecia instructed Harley to, quote, pull your car into the garage, unquote, by text message, presumably to temporarily cover up any potential evidence left behind. To be clear, Harley has her own vehicle that was mentioned above in paragraph 13, specifically a Volkswagen Jetta. 146. On January 28th, 2020, at approximately 16:04 to 16:17 hours, investigators asked Letecia for Gannon's toothbrush to recover his DNA. At or about 16:19 hours, Letecia did a search in her internet browser of, quote, they are asking for our son's toothbrush but said nothing is wrong, unquote. At or about 16:31 to 16:33 hours, Letecia has a text conversation with Mr. Stauch. Letecia, something isn't right. I think they are hiding something. Mr. Stauch, who? The police? Letecia, yes. They asked for toothbrushes. Mr. Stauch, what do you think they're hiding? 147. Also on January 28th, 2020, at or about 22:45 hours, Letecia made a statement to investigators via text message. At the time of this statement, Gannon had been missing for approximately 27 hours, and Letecia believed she was a subject in his disappearance without any prior prompting from law enforcement or notification of such. Letecia, what do you want from me? Because I have nothing. One of your very own leaked to me what you guys were doing. I did nothing and am being set up. I'm not really even sure other than being told to buy another blue with El Paso. I was told I couldn't go home to sleep, and on top of that, men were sent to a home with minor female, and she was forced to stay there, not to even leave for food. Every conversation that is said, even at this moment, I can hear inside. What do you want from me? Detective Bethel, come in and talk to me. I would just like information to find Gannon. Yeah, she's not suspicious at all, is she, guys? She's getting a little bit nervous. 148. After EPSO, investigators seized Letecia's Volkswagen Tiguan on January 29, 2020. She obtained a 2020 Nissan Altima. Investigators applied for and were granted a search warrant by this court to install a GPS tracker on the vehicle. Investigators monitored this tracking device, which provided particularly useful information. On January 31st, 2020, a map with some of this data is included below. This information will be discussed below and relates to the area north of Palmer Lake and along Highway 105 South Perry Park Road in Douglas County, Colorado. 149. In summary, investigators believe Letecia utilized the rented Nissan Altima to return to the area in which she disposed of Gannon's body. Indeed, investigators recovered a piece of particle board from this area with Gannon's blood on it. This information will be discussed below in more detail. And it looks like that's a tracker map data from the Nissan. 150. The fact Letecia came back to this area on January 31st, 2020 is significant, and investigators have not uncovered any evidence that Letecia has family or friends that live in that area, or any legitimate reason for her presence in that area other than to dispose of incriminating evidence. 151. I submit a reasonable theory for the fact Letecia returned to this area based on the information presented in this affidavit as follows. Letecia disposed of Gannon's remains at nighttime and likely was nervous about the location she chose and may not have even remembered exactly where she dumped Gannon's remains. Investigators believe that on January 31st, 2020, she went back to the area to view the area while sunlight was available to ensure no evidence was visible from the road, to ensure his remains were adequately covered to prevent detection, and to see if any law enforcement was in the area. Wow. The exploitation of the Volkswagen Tiguan data. 152. Investigators were able to remove a computer chip from Letecia's Volkswagen Tiguan, which was examined by the FBI. The FBI was able to recover data hereinafter raw data, which included but is not limited to the estimated location of the vehicle specifically related to the evening of January 28, 2020 and the morning of January 29, 2020. 153. The raw data has not been scientifically evaluated, and the raw data that was provided was not portrayed to be an exact representation of the vehicle's activities. Additionally, I have been told that the raw data has particular limitations, including the inability to show the exact location of the vehicle. For example, if the Tiguan was taken off road, the raw data may not show that and display the estimated location on the nearest road. Furthermore, the estimated location may have some degree of fluctuation in accuracy, estimated to be approximately 50 to 100 meters. 154. FBI agents, including Special Agent S.A. Dante, took steps to verify and corroborate the data recovered from the Tiguan. In summary, S.A. Donati was able to take some of the raw data, including location and timestamp, and compare it to other evidence. As with other forensic evidence discussed in this affidavit, investigators believe it to be reliable. 155. For example, the Tiguan raw data placed the Tiguan leaving the Colorado Springs Airport just after 1900 hours on January 28, 2020. This information matched the timestamp on the January 28, 2020 Colorado Springs Airport parking receipt to the Tiguan data. The Tiguan raw data indicated the Tiguan stopped near a King Soopers parking lot for approximately 10 minutes after leaving the airport, between 2008 hours to 2018 hours. S.A. Donati was able to review video surveillance footage from the King Soopers, which indeed showed a dark SUV matching the description of the Tiguan sitting in the parking lot during that same time period. Other footage, including raw video footage from a Wendy's restaurant in a separate location, helped to further corroborate the raw data. 156. Of significant importance, the raw data show the Tiguan in the area of Highway 105, South Perry Park Road, between 21:15 hours and 21:30 hours on January 28, 2020, and I have included a map depicting that data. The raw data also indicated the Tiguan stopped for approximately 5 minutes in an area proximate to the recovery of Gannon's blood on February 15, 2020. This is the same area Letecia likely drove to in her Nissan Altima rental vehicle on January 31st, 2020. The recovery of Gannon's blood in this area is discussed below. And there's another map of data from the Tiguan. 157. Investigators were also able to compare Letecia's historical cell site information, including Nello's data, against the Tiguan raw data, and found no reason to believe that Letecia was not the driver of the Tiguan on January 28, 2020. The continued evolution of Letecia's stories. 158. Investigators conducted several consensually monitored telephone calls with Mr. Stauch. Specifically, Mr. Stauch, at the direction of law enforcement, communicated with Letecia via telephone and email. These communications have been recorded and memorialized and consisted of hours of recorded conversation. I will not provide a transcript of these calls, but will summarize the importance of particular changes in Letecia's story and will also include exculpatory information related to Letecia's statements. Letecia never admitted to killing Gannon. Yeah, that's highly. Of course, she's not going to, but wouldn't that make things so much easier? 159. For the purposes of refreshing the court, here is a summary of some of Letecia's statements, whether to law enforcement, directly through the media, and or to Mr. Stauch, in recorded email and voice communications. On January 27, 2020, Letecia stated, Gannon left to play at a friend's house and did not come home at 1800 hours like he was supposed to. On January 29, 2020, Letecia stated she was held at gunpoint, ARD, and Gannon was abducted by her artist. 160. Within Letecia's falsehoods, there are details corroborated by physical evidence that would be near impossible to know without being intimately involved in the murder. Letecia has made statements to explain blood on the walls in Gannon's bedroom, blood on the rear bumper of the Tiguan, and blood in the garage of the Stauch residence. Details of the location of blood evidence has not been released to the media nor to Letecia and has been closely held throughout this investigation. Furthermore, Letecia has continued to provide alibis for her physical locations not previously disclosed to investigators. Her statements continue to evolve in a dramatic way, and all are remarkably different from the original report to EPSO. 161. The majority of the conversations between Letecia and Albert Stauch began around February 13, 2020. Over several days, Letecia's story continued to change. During a phone call on February 13, 2020, Letecia stated that Gannon was burned by a candle to the point that his skin bubbled, and that Gannon peeled the burns off and wiped blood on his bedroom wall. Mr. Stauch did not ask about the blood on the walls of his room during this call. The fact she provided information about blood on the wall likely indicates her knowledge of the murder scene. 162. On February 14, 2020, Letecia had an additional conversation with Mr. Stauch and provided 4 additional versions of Gannon's disappearance. Story number 1. When EPSO came to the house on January 27, 2020, the abductor was still in her residence and that she tried to signal to EPSO deputies that there was somebody in the residence. It should be noted that EPSO deputies checked the entirety of the house and no additional person was located during the search. Story number 2. She was AR'd by Quincy Brown at her residence, and Brown abducted Gannon. She knew Brown's identity because she saw a paper and his identification card fall out of his pocket that had his name on it. Letecia sent a photograph of Quincy Brown to Mr. Stauch via text message. It is noted this photograph mirrored images online wherein Quincy Brown was listed as a most wanted suspect, discussed below. Story number 3. Quincy Brown followed her from Petco and at some point was laying in the middle of the road in front of her car. When Letecia stopped to avoid running this man over, he jumped onto her car and made her take him home, then AR'd her. Story number 4. Letecia and Gannon were near County Road, Highway 105 in northern El Paso County on January 27, 2020. Gannon was riding a bicycle in that area and fell off, hit his head, and was then abducted by Quincy Brown. In this version of events, Quincy Brown was driven by a man named Terrence. Wow. The amount of stories she has. 163. The February 14th, 2020 story number 4 has several interesting considerations. During the period of February 12th through 14th, 2020, it was public knowledge by virtue of media coverage that investigators were searching for Gannon in the area of Highway 105, South Perry Park Road in South Douglas County near the El Paso County line. Letecia brought this location up on her own without prompt during a conversation and provided an alibi for why she was in that area. Letecia wasn't adamant that investigators' efforts to search for Gannon in that area would be futile. This area turned out to be significant based on the TIG-1's location on January 28, 2020, and that Gannon's blood was found in the area, discussed below in more detail. 164. Furthermore, as mentioned above, Letecia drove through the same area in her Nissan Altima rental vehicle on January 31st, 2020. 165. I submit that based on raw data retrieved from the TIG-1, Letecia was likely in the area of Highway 105, South Perry Park Road, on the evening of January 28, 2020, and Gannon's remains were dumped in the vicinity of the area. Letecia's story lays the foundation for a reason why investigators may locate Gannon's body with head trauma. 166. On February 15, 2020, Letecia provided additional conflicting stories to Mr. Stauch, including that the story she told Albert Stauch about Gannon falling off a bike was a lie because it was what she believed he wanted to hear. 167. Letecia stated the blood in the corner of Gannon's room was a combination of hers and Gannon's. In this explanation, she stated that the abductor anally AR'd her, both her and Gannon, with an object. Additionally, she was tied up at some point in the abduction, and the abductor was still present during the EPSO visit that night. Whew. Jeez. Quincy Brown. 168. Quincy Brown, age 37, was listed on El Paso County's most wanted list on February 10, 2020. I was able to locate Brown's photo on KKTV News website, where they describe Brown as a black male. It is noted that during one of Letecia's stories, she described her artist as an Hispanic male. Yeah, that matches. The photo on this website appeared to be the same photo Letecia sent to Mr. Stauch. Brown has an outstanding arrest warrants for failure to register as a SEX offender and failure to appear. These warrants appear to have been open since 2018. 169. I was able to find a criminal history for Quincy Brown, date of birth 10/21/1981, which included but was not limited to a 2001 arrest for first-degree kidnapping in El Paso County Court Case 2001 CR 4383, which was pled to felony menacing. Investigators have uncovered no evidence to support that Quincy Brown was involved in Gannon's disappearance. Gannon's blood is located in Douglas County, Colorado on February 15, 2020. 170. As mentioned above, investigators began to focus a search effort for Gannon's remains in the area of Highway 105, South Perry Park Road in Douglas County, Colorado on February 12, 2020. There is not an exact address to reference due to the rural nature of the area. This particular location was deemed important based on raw data from the TIG-1 on January 28, 2020, and the location data from her rental vehicle on January 31st, 2020. 171. On February 15, 2020, searchers located a piece of particle board during that search. The particle board had a stain that appeared to be consistent with blood and is pictured below. I have added a red circle to indicate the location of the blood stain. The particle board was collected by the FBI Evidence Response Team and transported to the Metro Crime Lab, also on February 15, 2020. An initial test revealed a positive presumptive result for the presence of human or high primate blood. Further testing was conducted and a DNA profile was developed and compared to Gannon's on February 16, 2020. That profile matched the DNA profile of Gannon Stauch and is documented in a Metro Crime Laboratory report 20 MCL 00267. Oh, and again, another picture. It's really hard to read because of the photocopy, unfortunately. 172. The reasonable explanation for the discovery of this particle board with Gannon's blood on it is that Letecia used this particle board during the disposal of Gannon's remains. 173. The area in which the particle board was found is rural, and the ground was covered by approximately 6 to 12 inches of snow. Additionally, as the area is rural in nature, it is likely populated by wildlife, including predators such as bear, coyote, and mountain lions. Gannon's remains have not been located, and while investigators will continue to search the area, it is possible those remains have since been scattered since January 28th, 2020. 174. The below map depicts the area where the particle board was recovered compared with raw data from the TIG-1's location while idling for approximately 5 minutes on January 28, 2020, and the GPS tracker data from the Nissan Altima on January 31st, 2020. As noted above, the raw data of the TIG-1 has an estimated 50 to 100 meter variance. Sort of see the map, but not too good. All right, we got a bunch of redactions here. Wiretap interceptions. 175. Redacted. Additionally, investigators were granted a pen register trap and trace device order, global positioning system, GPS pings, and cell site sector information. Investigators monitored Letecia's telephone and recorded hours of communication between Stauch and others. Each and every communication intercepted is not included within this affidavit. 176. As during other portions of the investigation, Letecia continued to provide different stories to different people about Gannon's disappearance. Letecia provided false information to her sister and other family members, redacted, during which Letecia provided multiple different stories for what happened to Gannon. Several of these stories were discussed above. 177. On a February 16, 2020 call at or about 1928 hours, Letecia told a female believed to be Tila Cummings that she had been giving Al numerous false stories because she knows he will not believe anything she says. Yeah, nobody believes anything you say, Letecia. 178. On February 17, 2020, call at or about 13:53 hours, Letecia told a female believed to be associated with Laura Abernathy that she was thinking about flying out to Colorado to take a lie detector test to prove her innocence. During that call, she stated, they think I'm still in Colorado." 179. On another February 17, 2020 call at or about 16:11 hours, Letecia told an unknown female that she is going to take a lie detector test, but that the test is not admissible in court and no law enforcement would be present. Okay, Letecia. Letecia attempted to obtain fake polygraph results. 180. On a February 18, 2020 call at approximately 10:14 hours, Letecia called 321-247-6876. I conducted research on that phone number and learned it was associated with fakepolygraph.com. Classy. During that call, Letecia stated she never got a confirmation for a test she paid for. Letecia provided the spelling of her name, and before disconnecting the call, the unknown male stated he would resend her the results to her email. 181. I viewed the website fakepolygraph.com and found the following information. Well, this is going to be hard to read. Looks like it's saying basically get a fully verified false polygraph test certificate provided for proving you have taken a real polygraph test. So it looks like you choose the questions and all that. So basically, it's a bunch of garbage, which of course is right up her alley. 182. Also on February 18, 2020, at about 11:16 hours, Letecia again called 321-247-6876. During this call, Letecia inquired about an email she received. The unknown mail stated her report was blocked by management based on the content of the questions and stated that with any illegal activities, they reserve the right to not send the report. Letecia's response was the following. Letecia, what do you do now? Just delete it and go on about life and keep the money? Mail at fakepolygraph.com? Yes, we do indeed. Letecia, okay, I gotcha. Thank you. Goodbye. 183. Investigations contacted Luke Devlin utilizing the phone number 321-247-6876 that Letecia called. Mr. Devlin provided information to investigators, including the questions and answers that Letecia had provided. 184. Letecia provided the following questions and answers that were supposed to be truthful to fakepolygraph.com. A. Do you intend to answer these questions regarding your stepson truthfully? Yes. B. Is your birthday August 4th, 1983? Yes. C. Did you participate in any way in causing harm to your stepson? No. D. Did your stepson return with you to your home? Yes. E. Did you participate in any way in causing the death of your stepson? No. 185. I submit to the court that if Letecia had nothing to hide, she would not have to pay for fake polygraph results. Bingo! Conclusion. We are finally toward the end, guys. 186. Based on data collected by the FBI and reported to the Journal of Forensic Sciences, I learned that in over 71% of homicide cases that involve false reporting, the reporting party is responsible for the murder. To be clear, this statistic is not being provided as sole probable cause for the requested warrant, but as an additional fact to be combined with others listed in this affidavit. 187. Based on Letecia's internet history, it is reasonable to believe that she was unhappily married to Mr. Stauch and had some degree of resentment toward the family as a step-parent. Furthermore, days before Gannon's murder, Letecia appeared to be researching a move to another state to a 2-bedroom apartment. 188. Letecia has not provided a fully truthful statement to investigators at any point during this investigation, particularly regarding the circumstances of Gannon's disappearance. This would reasonably be suspected of activity of an individual that committed the crime under investigation, namely murder. Within approximately 24 hours of Gannon being reported missing, and without external prompt, Letecia made claims to law enforcement that she was being set up. 189. Initially, Letecia said Gannon was playing with a neighborhood friend between approximately 15:15 hours and 1600 hours and was expected home at 1800 hours. Within a few days, Letecia changed her story to label herself as a victim of R, felony menacing with a weapon, and assault, resulting in Gannon's abduction by her Rist. Her stories continued to evolve to include a new location of Gannon's disappearance over 30 miles away, several completely different sets of circumstances, and unprompted explanations for why Gannon's blood would be found by investigators in key locations. 190. Letecia was unable to provide a logical reason why she rented another vehicle while she still had access to the Tiguan. Based on the aforementioned facts, it was likely because it contained the remains of or evidence of Gannon's remains, based on positive reactions to luminol in the Tiguan on the bumper, indicating the likely presence of blood on the rear tailgate. A suspected blood sample from the interior of the trunk area returned a negative result for the presumptive presence of blood. 191. Gannon's mattress has a large red stain on it that is consistent with blood. Based on the orientation of the mattress in the room, it appears that this is where Gannon's head and upper torso would have been. Below that same area, a substance that was confirmed as blood by the Metro Crime Laboratory soaked through the carpet, the pad, and stained the concrete. This blood matches the DNA profile for Gannon Stauch. In the same area, blood samples taken from the wall, namely an electrical outlet, were also confirmed to match Gannon's DNA profile. 192. Gannon's blood, again matched to his DNA profile, was also found on a piece of particle board in the area of Highway 105, South Perry Park Road in Douglas County, Colorado. This particular area is consistent with Letecia's travels on January 28, 2020 and January 31st, 2020, based on GPS tracker locations of her Nissan Altima rental and raw data from the Tiguan. 193. During her stories to Mr. Stauch without prompt, Letecia provided explanations for why blood would be found on Gannon's bedroom wall. Other than Letecia being present for Gannon's murder and being present for the cleaning of the murder scene, there's no reasonable explanation for how Letecia would know there was blood on Gannon's wall, as that evidence had not been released to the media. Again, without prompt, Letecia provided an alibi for why she was in the area where the particle board was recovered. 194. By combining cell phone tower data, reviewing video surveillance, and home security system logs, investigators believe, based on the evidence, the only three individuals with access to Gannon on the afternoon of January 27, 2020 were Letecia, Harley, and 8-year-old Lana. With the exception of Lana, who is not considered a suspect, it appears nobody other than Letecia was with Gannon at the Stauch residence between the hours of approximately 14:16 and 17:34 hours on January 27, 2020, when investigators suspect Letecia murdered Gannon. 195. Gannon has been missing for approximately 4 weeks, and there has been national news attention on major networks related to his disappearance. Local efforts, including posters, news coverage, search teams, and social media postings, have also failed to locate Gannon. Aerial assets, infrared FLIR technology, and other extraordinary methods have been deployed to help locate Gannon. 196. Over 200 volunteers have helped to search for Gannon, comprising thousands of man-hours in several different locations. Additionally, although the EPSO has received hundreds of tips, nobody has provided information that has led to Gannon's location. His family and friends have not heard from him, and Gannon is only 11 years old with no financial resources. 197. Letecia Stauch was the last person to see Gannon alive. Investigators have not located Gannon's remains at this point in time, although the search continues. As additional time increases without locating Gannon, the more likely it is that Gannon is not alive. 198. Based on the facts set forth above, I submit probable cause exists to believe that on or about January 27, 2020, within the state of Colorado and within Paso County, Letecia Stauch committed the offenses in violation of Colorado revised statutes to include murder in the first degree, child under 12, position of trust, child abuse resulting in death, tampering with a deceased human body, and tampering with physical evidence. 199. Therefore, your officiant respectfully requests the issuance of an arrest warrant charging the same. Signed by applicant Jessica Bethel, El Paso County Sheriff's Office. She's a detective on the 28th of February, 2020. And as we can see, the judge signed the arrest warrant. Wow. Sorry if I stumbled a couple times, guys. That was a lot to get through. not only for the content, but the length of the affidavit. I applaud the detective and everyone else who has worked on this case because that arrest affidavit was very, very thorough. And as we know, that's just enough to get them an arrest warrant. The amount of evidence that they have is much more. And we're going to see what exactly they have against her, which of course I already believe she's guilty. Just reading that and seeing all the stuff, there's no way she didn't hurt and kill this young man. It's horrible. Again, next week, March 20th, is when the jury selection will begin. They are estimating that it may take up to 2 weeks, and the trial should begin no later than April 3rd. So I don't know how long they're estimating the trial itself to last. I haven't heard a date on that. But considering it's a murder trial, it's going to be a bit. She's got some other charges as well, so I don't know if they'll also be included on this. But yeah, I'm going to try to do some more videos probably next week on some other stuff. She's got some crazy Facebook posts that she did during all this, and as well as some other crazy stuff. She is definitely a crazy, evil step monster. All right, guys, I want to thank you for checking out the video. And if you would, on your way out, if you like the content, hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button and notification bell. I appreciate it. And I hope you guys have a great rest of the day. And most of all, stay safe.